Good morning. Thank you again for attending our webinar entitled Cloud Servers, the Financial and Productivity Case Study. This webinar is sponsored by Cal SAE along with Cloud First Technology Solutions in association with Microsoft. The purpose of this particular series of webinars is to educate and to provide a means of learning about additional technologies and about additional cloud-related technologies that can help your organization to improve productivity and create an environment in which you can learn about these new technologies and learn about different ways of doing business with technology without pressure to purchase something or to be dogmatic in one particular technology over another. So even though most of the concepts that I will be talking about today will be generic, I will give some examples that talk about Microsoft products, since, that is, of course, easier for me, being a Microsoft partner, to be able to explain. But those will just be examples rather than talking about one particular company's technology over another company's technology. So once again, thank you for joining us. My name is Dennis Gentles. I am the CEO of Cloud First Technology Solutions. Cloud First is a Microsoft partner who is also a partner with them in the MCC program, which is the Microsoft Community Connections program. And as I stated, this program is to assist those in the community to learn about technology and be educated on new technologies that are on the horizon. Additionally, I've been in technology for about 20 years now, and my past, I've been an entrepreneur of several organizations, and thus I understand the importance of being able to use technology and to organize information technology, IT departments within organizations to be able to be most effective to reach the organization's goals. Okay, so moving right along. When we think about technology, technology can truly be a differentiator for an organization. We're talking about cloud servers and the financial and the productivity case study. Cloud is a fairly new technology. Therefore, individuals and business leaders who really look to technology in their organization, they can use that to differentiate their organization in many ways. Well, for one, business leaders who put that as a forefront in their organization, many times they outpace their peers in the same industry. There's 2 times faster job growth for organizations who commit to being modern when it comes to new technologies in their organization. There's a 15% faster rate of increase in annual revenues. And persons are 5 times more likely, organizations are 5 times more likely to continue to invest in new technologies as time goes on. And so really what that puts the organization is ahead of other organizations in their industry, and it really helps differentiate themselves as a leader. And we're going to talk about that even more so as we go along. So the question really is, with this, since we're talking about cloud servers and the financial and the productivity study behind these cloud servers, the question really is, what is the cloud? I mean, what is the cloud to begin with? Well, the cloud is something that we hear about a lot. It's a buzzword that we hear almost all the time now when we're talking about technology. My data is in the cloud, or it's important to use the cloud for this and that. But really, what is it? In reality, it's just a marketing term. The cloud is a term that really talks about using the internet and being able to use the resources of the internet to be able to either store data, to access files, to share information, to communicate. It is using the backbone of the internet infrastructure in order to use our applications. So what are some of the cloud products that we're using today? Well, really, if an organization feels that they're not using the cloud, then, well, they're most likely wrong, because everyone uses the cloud in some way, some fashion or another. Online banking is a cloud application. Salesforce is a common application that many individuals use for CRM. That's a cloud application. OneDrive, Dropbox, any type of file storage that is off-site, that's a cloud application. LinkedIn, Facebook. Right now we're using Skype for Business. That's a cloud application. There's iCloud for your iPad and iOS devices. And so many of these applications, whether an organization realizes it or not, they're all cloud-based. These applications are cloud-based, and so by using them, we're using the cloud. Now, what we're going to look at as we go along in this particular webinar is we're going to see how, even though we may be using the cloud in various fashions or another already, how can we systematically put together a plan in order to use it and control the cloud for the benefit of our organization. So we're looking at the case study of cloud servers, cloud applications, and how it improves our productivity and how it can improve our financial spending when it comes to information technology. Sometimes individuals say that they're afraid of using the cloud. They're worried about it for some reasons. In fact, there are many reasons why individuals may not want to adopt the cloud, or feel that they haven't adopted the cloud even though they may already be using it. But they may feel that we don't know how this is going to affect our business. Maybe there's some security issues that they're concerned about with the cloud. Anytime business owners do not understand the 4 key cloud products, they're really the 4 core cloud divisions that we're going to talk about a little bit in a little while. And then some others feel it's hard to adopt new technologies. They're worried about it. We already have something that works. Why should we change it? We simply do not understand the concepts of what the cloud really means and how they can use it to affect and to create greater productivity for their organization. So it really comes to education, just understanding what it can do, what the features of the cloud is, how can it best affect my particular organization, what can I do to help my organization. And so those are the things that is important for an individual to want to adopt the cloud. So let's talk about the 4 key cloud products. We have cloud servers, in which we're really going to talk about, and cloud servers in a way can encompass everything that we're going to talk about today. But however, if we want to just single it out to the actual machines, or the physical, not so much physical because all cloud is virtual, but the virtual machines that will host your applications and to store your data, that is cloud servers. But then what about hosted phones? So more specifically, hosted phones are cloud-based phone systems, cloud-based PBX systems. And then there's hosted applications, which are applications that we may use. We talked about some of these applications. Maybe there are in-house applications that were developed specifically for our company. And these applications sometimes can be ported and moved over to the cloud as well, and hosted, so to say, because we're not having them in our organization any longer on our own servers, but we have them in a cloud-based server. And then there's managed services, which is the service behind maintaining your cloud. So let's talk about those key issues. First is cloud server. Now we understand cloud servers we understand that a server is a physical piece of hardware. We may have this server tucked in under our desk. We may have it in a telephone closet or a server closet in our office. Larger organizations have full data centers with physical servers in there. And those servers may host our email. Those servers may host different applications that we may have in our organization that we use to do business. However, a cloud server is very similar to a physical server. In fact, when we connect to it, it looks just like a physical server. Many times if we have a physical server in our organization, we're not in front of the server doing work on it. We're actually using applications that are hosted on that server. So we never really actually see the server. Or for the IT persons in your organization, many times they do not actually go in front of the server in order to do maintenance or to do patching or to configure that server. They can remote in and they can configure that server. If we have a VPN into our network, then they can remote into that server from anywhere in the world. Well, that server, however, is physically on our premises, or maybe on the premises that we rented in a co-location utility facility. However, a cloud-based server is stored in massive data centers and many different locations throughout the world. So there are large public cloud organizations such as Amazon. Amazon is the leader when it comes to cloud-based systems. They're the leader in terms of the amount of cloud-based systems that they support. Followed closely by Microsoft, that has huge data centers. They tend to focus on business servers. Then there is Google. They have a large footprint as well. And each of these large organizations that host public cloud, they have data centers located throughout the world. Currently, Microsoft has the most data centers, with over 20 of them located in different locations. Many times they are in near large major cities. But the point is this: when we host our servers in a cloud, it offers redundancy. Because I may have my server, the server that I use, the cloud-based server, closer to me in, let's say, California somewhere. But that data may be replicated in Singapore or in Tokyo. So if a major disaster were to take place in one area, my server is located also someplace else. So the cloud is a network of servers. It's not just one physical server somewhere on premise. But there is a network of servers throughout these large data centers with millions of devices, really, millions of computers that are all connected together to provide a single resource to us. And it's extremely flexible. We're going to talk about the flexibility of cloud servers very soon. However, it is a virtualized environment, meaning that it mimics the physical server, and we can do many of the things that we do on a physical server, but it's virtual and it's not on our premise. So when we think about the economics behind that, when we think about the financial case study behind why a cloud server may be more economical than a physical server, we can look at it this way. When we have one standard server as compared to a collection of virtual servers that are out there, or a bunch of physical servers in which our virtual server is on top of, well, one server can fail, two servers can fail, but our virtual server is still running because it's spread across many different servers. That way, we have much greater reliability of our device. We have much greater reliability of our server because we don't have to worry about one system going down and we losing our data. Additionally, when we think about the finance behind a cloud server in comparison to a physical server, when I want to purchase a physical server, then I need to, of course, figure out who I'm going to purchase from. It's going to cost several $1,000s most likely, into the tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how I need to configure it. I need to determine up front how much RAM, how much memory I need to have, how much disk space I'm going to have. I need to be concerned with how many persons will be using that server, because that's going to determine how much space I need and how much capacity on that server. Additionally, I have to be concerned about the future, because if I get a server for my organization that just uh, is for that can just hold the capacity of what I have now, what happens if I grow or if I double in size in the next couple of years? Well, then I'm going to need to add more servers. So many times an organization will um, try to get even more than what they need currently in a physical server, because they want to have room for growth. In a cloud-based server, that is not necessary. I can get exactly what I need. I can get the capacity of exactly what I want now, and then just simply add on later. If I need to have more space, I simply click a button or ask my IT professional to help me, and they can quickly add more space onto that cloud server. It is done within minutes rather than weeks. I don't need someone to physically take a server out of a box and rack it and to set it up and to install it. This is something that can be done very quickly in just a few moments on a cloud-based server once I have my account all set up. So we're able to understand the economics behind that. It saves quite a bit of money when it comes to time, when it comes to having the IT professionals who want to help us with that, and our ability to only spend what we need to spend on that particular server when we need to spend it. So let's look a little bit more about the categories and understand a little bit more about the flexibility of the cloud computing model. There is something called SaaS or SaaS. That is software as a service. And software as a service really gives us the ability to have everything taken care for us in the cloud when it comes to the application, because we're just using the software. We don't have to worry about the platform. We do not have to worry about the infrastructure. And so what does that really mean? Well, with software as a service, an example of that might be an application such as QuickBooks Online. On QuickBooks Online, all we have to do is set up an account. We have a username and password, and we can log right into QuickBooks Online and we can use QuickBooks. We didn't have to purchase the application and install it on a computer. We didn't have to purchase a server so that more members of our organization can use QuickBooks at the same time. And we don't have to worry about, since we didn't purchase a server, we don't have to worry about the actual hardware and the memory and the disk space. We don't have to worry about any of those things. In fact, all we need is a username and password, and we can log in and use the software. It's a service for us. It's software as a service where we can just use that software. Another example is something called Office 365. Office 365, once again, that is kind of a hybrid of an application and a platform, but for the most part, the applications of Word, PowerPoint, Excel, those applications, the Office applications, which is a portion of Office 365, just a portion of it, those are considered software as a service, because we don't actually have to go out and purchase Office 2016 and put the DVD into our DVD drive and install it on our PC, or we don't have to actually go in and download the software and install it. Those pieces are included, but there's also a web component where we can go in on the web and we can just use Word, we can use PowerPoint on the web without having to install anything. It's just a software as a service. The next portion is platform as a service. Now, platform as a service gives us a little bit more flexibility, but with the more flexibility, there is more responsibility for us when it comes to maintaining that particular service. So the platform pretty much gives us something to build on top of, a platform where we can build our application. So an example of that is SQL, which is a database system. It's possible to just get a database system where we don't have to worry about the server that the database is on. We don't have to worry about the hardware. We don't have to worry about the infrastructure and the network and how much storage. All we need to know is that we have this database available to us so that we can build applications. We connect the applications to that database. And the database runs in the background. We don't have to, again, worry about all of the details in maintaining the database. Now, we do have to do some configuration of that database on the platform. So that's why it's different a little bit from software as a service, because there's something that we have to do. Our IT professionals or ourselves have to go in and maintain that platform. But it does give us much more flexibility than just having a software that is just dictated to us. Then there is infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service, again, that's another cloud-based model. Yet this cloud-based model gives us the greatest flexibility. Whereas on the infrastructure as a service, we don't have to worry about the hardware, once again. We don't have to worry about the network, but now we have control of the platform. We have control of the operating system. I can provision a virtual server, and I can have I have control over what operating system is on that server. I can put Linux on it. I can put Windows on it. I can structure the network so I can put virtual firewalls and virtual switches in that network. And I have a lot more control over what I'm going to do in that cloud-based environment. Whereas when we go to the opposite side of the spectrum, we were talking about QuickBooks. Well, with QuickBooks Online, all I can do is use QuickBooks Online. I can have no ability to get to the back-end database that QuickBooks is on. I have no ability to go back to the operating system and find out what OS this QuickBooks is running on. QuickBooks Online is just a software as a service. Whereas on the other side, infrastructure as a service, I have full control over the database, the platform, and the software that is on top of it. So these are the three models when it comes to cloud-based computing. And depending on what we need for our organization, we can decide which one we want to use. Of course, many organizations use more than one model, even within in what they're doing. So that's some information in terms of how we can move forward with designing our cloud-based strategy. Going back to the cost when it comes to cloud servers. One case study of how things can reduce cost is when you host and access your applications in the cloud using, for example, Microsoft Azure and Office 365. Organizations are able to take some of the servers that they already have, make them virtual, move them to the cloud, and so now they don't have to maintain the hardware. They don't have to pay for the electricity of having these servers. And it also gives them the ability to access these servers from anywhere in the world. It also helps them to, when it comes to backups and recoveries, they don't have to worry about that as much because they don't have to worry about the tape drives. They reduce costs with Office 365 because email is within that, and there's SharePoint that allows them to share files back and forth. And so that's a case study of how that can reduce the cost of IT in general, of taking both servers and some of the most popular applications that we use and make them cloud-based. Now, this is not just with Microsoft Azure and Office 365, but that's just an example. Many others use Google Apps. They use Amazon to host web servers as well. Scalability is very important, or is something that we gain when we come to cloud-based servers. Scalability means that we can quickly add and remove depending on our organization. We have 10 persons working in our organization. When we get that 11th person, we just simply add another license. They have access to the server. They have access to our Office 365, to our productivity suite. When we get our 12th person, it's very simple. We just continue to add on. Oh, well, let's just say a person leaves the organization, then we can just remove. So each month, we're only paying for exactly what we need. And so over time, that saves money in itself. So now let's talk about our second area, hosted phones and voice over IP. Hosted phones is the delivery of voice communication via the internet. And so that is very common today. More and more organizations use voice over IP, use a hosted based phone system. But even more so now, there are cloud-based PBX systems. So no hardware at all needs to be located in our location. No hardware needs to be on premise. All of our hardware for our phone system can be cloud-based. Now, what that does, it allows us to, one, definitely to begin on saving money. On average, companies spend $19.38 per month per license on basic cloud IP phone systems. When you include voicemail, audio conferencing, web conferencing, on average, the monthly cost comes to be about $37 per person. In comparison, that is about 30% less than what individuals would pay if they have a landline based system or if they host their own hardware for their phone system. So we see from an economic point of view, having a hosted phone system provides many more features because many times these phone systems allow us to communicate not just simply from our desk phone, but again, it allows for voice communication over the internet with video, as well as being able to collaborate, being able to see one's screen. I'm using Skype for Business right now. Skype for Business is my organization's phone system as well. When you make a phone call into our organization, it is a virtual PBX. You can get an extension. You dial the extension in of any person you want to talk to, and it goes to either a desk phone that's connected directly to the internet, or it goes to a soft phone installed on a laptop, or it can be forwarded to a mobile device. So the flexibility comes with anyone in the organization can decide how they want to be communicated with. My phone number follows me all around the world. So no matter where I am in the world, when you dial my phone number, then you get connected to me. And I can decide which phone number rings or which line rings when you dial that number, when you dial that extension. I can forward it to any other number. So what are the benefits of hosted phones? Well, it's business continuity, for one. Having hardware not located on premise in one place, if there is some type of disaster, our phone systems do not go down because it is hosted in the cloud, it is virtual, and it is redundant in more than one location. It gives the ability to grow. Scalability, once again. As new persons come on board or persons or leave the organization, we're able to add licenses and remove licenses. Having physical lines, one is not able to do that. You can't call the phone company up and say, okay, add this line this month, remove this line this month. It's not feasible. It's not really feasible to be able to have that type of flexibility in a physical phone system. Then there's the economics. Getting a hardware-based phone system is going to cost within the thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, many times depending on how large our organization is, in the millions of dollars depending on how large our organization is. But that is an upfront cost that we have to pay in order to get that hardware and get it all set up. And then when we're ready to upgrade, then we have to remove all of that hardware and get new hardware. Well, that is a large capital expense. With a hosted base or cloud-based PBX system, then that expense is removed because there's not a large upfront outlay of capital in order to get this type of hardware. We can simply just pay a low monthly cost just for what we're using at the time. Another benefit of a hosted phone is the connections of all locations. We're able to connect. We can truly have a global organization if our particular organization, the association that you're with, has many locations throughout the world, or it has employees around the world, maybe not locations, but maybe employees in different places, or just even locally in the United States, and just different places, not having one physical office. It's possible to have a virtual organization with persons anywhere, connecting them with one common phone system where it appears from the outside that you're just dialing into one system where you're really just dialing anywhere in the world. There's maintenance and software upgrades. It's much easier when it's cloud-based because depending on the hosted system, those upgrades and that maintenance happens in the background without us having to worry about it, without us having to hire expensive IT professionals to be there to bring our system down, to patch it, to upgrade it. This is all done in the background. So the financial case study behind traditional PBX versus hosted PBX. This study shows that over a 5-year period, there is a CapEx savings of over $11,000 when you compare on-premise versus a cloud or a hosted-based system. Along when we're talking about a phone system, a PBX system, it also brings along mobility. When we think about mobility, 55% of SMBs, which is small and medium-sized businesses, they support a mobile workforce. And so with persons not always in one physical location, not always in one office, it's just either in the field, traveling, such as salespersons, mobility is something that is becoming more and more prevalent, is only increasing. Therefore, having a phone system that can support mobility is something that the cloud offers, being able to use tablets, use mobile devices in order to communicate wherever we go. So when we're talking about a hosted phone system, that goes beyond just having just a voice call, but now it is included with all types of communication, such as chat and audio and video conferencing as well, web conferencing. How about our next section is hosted applications. So we talked about servers, we talked about phones. Now how about applications? Now when we talked about those cloud models, we talked about software as a service, and many times hosted applications fall into the software as a service realm. And so why is it beneficial for us to look at what applications we use and see if we can convert them to a SaaS application, to something that is software as a service based, that's cloud based? Well, again, the financial and the productivity features of that certainly is something for us to look at, because when we host our applications in the cloud, there are some huge benefits. We're going to take, for example, once again, Office 365. Rather than having the high expense that one pays in order to get software and to install different applications in our organization, we want to look. Let's break down Office 365 a little bit in the fact that Exchange Online is included. So rather than having to host an Exchange server or to have our own Exchange server in our office, we can now have that all included in one software application inside of Office 365. Once again, this is not to say that that is the only solution for that. Once again, there's Google. Google has Google Apps, and they support that with Google Mail behind it. So rather than hosting your own mail server, you can have Google Apps, and you'll have Google Mail, and you'll be able to send and receive messages along with that. But both of these software applications, both Google Apps for Business and Office 365, which are very similar in what they do, they offer a complete productivity suite of being able to share files and collaborate with one another, where you'll be able to use one document, or to be able to share one document, where I might be typing one sentence and someone else in my company who may be located in another state may be typing something else in that same document, and we may be talking via video conference and being able to work on the same work, even though we're miles apart, even though we're hundreds of miles apart. We're able to collaborate, talk to one another, and do the same thing at the same time. And thus, that increases productivity. Additionally, when it comes to expense, instead of having to maintain the infrastructure of being able to work in this capacity, being able to keep, have lease lines and have servers in which we have to share these documents, all of this is in the cloud, so that, again, that creates the scalability and less expense of having to maintain this infrastructure. Using some of the modern technology we have out there, it's possible to take some of our applications and take these applications let's say, proprietary applications that we may have built for our own organization. We can take those, put them in the cloud, and now we can also port them so that we can use them on devices that maybe they weren't even made to be used on. It wasn't, our programmers did not design the application to be used on a mobile device. However, now technology allows us to be able to take applications, put them in the cloud, and then use them on many different types of devices, and thus adding flexibility to legacy systems. We're talking about improved team collaboration. We've talked about that quite a bit already. However, going a little bit further, team collaboration by means of applications such as Skype for Business, as an example, allows your team to meet anywhere. Being able to have video conferences with your entire team just over the internet, and thus reducing travel costs. This particular medium that we're using right now, Skype for Business, right now it is set up. I have control of the meeting, whereas I was able to set up meeting options where I am the presenter and others have the ability to see me and to see what's on my screen. However, I can set up different meeting options for different meetings. So I can say that, okay, I can open it up so that everyone can be a participant in the meeting and everyone can share their video, and then we can talk together as if we're at a conference table, and I can see more than one video stream at a time. I can see 7 different persons who are sitting around this virtual conference table, and we can see each other and we can talk and we can communicate and we can have a meeting without having to travel to meet each other. Under applications, we think about security, disaster recovery, and backup. That is another huge cost savings in a way that we can be much more productive in keeping our data safe, really. The statistics are that 40% of businesses that are hit by a disaster, they never reopen. Whether that be a natural disaster or some type of crime against us, some type of cyber crime. Still, any organization that gets hit, it's a 40% likelihood that they'll never be able to recover from that, and that's just the statistics on that. Small and medium-sized businesses are able to improve business continuity by means of server virtualization. There's an 81% that businesses are able to increase their continuity by means of virtualizing servers. 24% of small and medium-sized businesses are concerned with inadequate technology, such as recovery, backup, resiliency. What these numbers help us to understand is that the cloud does provide resiliency, and that the cloud is able to assist when it comes to backup, when it comes to data recovery. And it also creates a much more secure environment for our organization, because we are able to update patches on a regular basis. We can have that done in the background for us. Whereas many individuals feel that having the cloud may be less secure because we don't have control over the data, the numbers show that for SMBs in particular, for small and medium-sized businesses in particular, who many times don't have the same budget as larger organizations to provide security, that the cloud allows them to catapult into having a much more secure environment, despite what others may feel of it not being secure. In fact, the case studies show that for SMB, having a properly configured, that's the key word, a properly configured cloud environment, that you would get much more security out of that, in terms of not only from unwanted hackers, from disaster recovery, and from backups. All of those 3 are included in security. We talk about data safety, not being able to lose your files. When we talk about backup and we think about being able to have all of our files stored in the cloud, so that if we were to lose a device, then we don't have to worry about losing data. It's unfortunate to lose a laptop or to lose a phone, but if all of our critical data is backed up in the cloud, then when we get a new phone, we get a new PC, then we can just simply log in and we can begin working just as before, because all of our files and all of our information is still there. It just has to sync up with the cloud. Another thing is that when we talk about security, there is a possibility to remote wipe critical information off devices. If we lost a phone, and we just go in and we can remotely remove any critical data that happened to be on that phone. So if someone were to find it, they would not be able to get to it because it's gone. As well as being able to encrypt our phones and create a security method where only 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 the devices that we want to have access to our data has access to our data in the cloud. So we can create that level of security as well. The cloud gives us the ability to have continuous uptime, not having to worry about systems going down, not having to worry about waiting for the email server to come back up, because we have the ability to use the power of the cloud, which has data backed up and is redundant in more than one location. When we think about putting our servers in the cloud, we're able to replicate those servers in different parts of the world, so that perhaps we have employees in different locations. They're able to access the server that's closest to them, and if that server goes down, they're able to access another server that may be in another location, and all using the same data, because that data is synchronized and replicated. Our last area that we'll talk about is managed services. So managed services is the practice of outsourcing day-to-day management of cloud-based systems. It's having the responsibilities and functions as a strategic method of improving operation and cutting expenses. How so? Well, when we have a managed service provider, or we're using managed service in one way or another, it is a huge benefit, because rather than having servers that may be on premise, that we may need persons to either on staff to be there to maintain those servers on a day-to-day basis, or perhaps we use an organization that we may call periodically when there are problems. Both of those can easily rack up unexpected financial cost when systems go down. Having a managed-based service, first of all, when we use the cloud, there's much more reliability, so we don't have to worry about as much timely service interruptions. We don't have to worry about untimely service interruptions where things go down and we weren't prepared for it. Sometimes that happens, of course, with any technology. There's never 100% reliability, but with the cloud, many services offer 99.9% uptime, whereas that is light years ahead of what many organizations can offer themselves internally. So with that level of stability to begin with, now having professionals in a managed-based service to assist in maintaining that hardware, or maintaining your virtual environment, it is much more cost effective. How so? Well, a managed service, many times they feature being able to have a service provider understand the state of your organization, being able to understand exactly what services you're using and being able to maintain it, create user accounts, create groups, do basic administration. But since this group is not dedicated to your organization, well, it's much less expensive. And they're able to do it many times even faster because the servers are in the cloud. So it's something very quick that they can do, and they can provide that service for your organization. Many managed service providers offer 24/7, 365 days a week technical support. Whereas to have that type of tech support in-house on premise by hiring individuals to work exclusively for your organization, that can tend to be extremely expensive to maintain that. But in having a managed service where there is this type of 24/7 help desk support, where anyone in your organization can pick up the phone or send an email or go to a chat box and get the support that they need, that is something that improves in productivity, but it also many times costs much less than having even one help desk person that's dedicated to your organization. Then the sourcing IT products, being able to source and to purchase new hardware and equipment. Again, a managed service provider can provide that service at a lower cost, being able, knowing a lot of the different features or knowing a lot of different vendors are able to offer services to you and offer new hardware to you many times at a good price because they're able to source those things, and also able to do project management, whereas you may have a new project that's coming in. A managed service provider be able to run that project many times virtually and being able to communicate with you. But one of the biggest things that a managed service provider provides is the fact that you have one monthly bill you can uh, that you can count on, that you can anticipate. Whereas sometimes with unforeseen IT expenses, uh, we may have a $5,000 bill here or a $700 bill here that we did not plan for. But by having a managed service provider, it's one monthly cost. They maintain our systems. They configure our systems, they administer our systems, they're there for us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's usually just one consistent monthly cost for that. That's included with our cloud-based service. So that way it's possible to anticipate our IT costs. And when we're able to anticipate it and we're able to know ahead of time what our budget is going to be, what we're going to spend on IT, and you compare that against having physical servers and having on-staff persons and having to put a lot up front for capital on new equipment. When you compare that to the cloud definitely helps us to be, one, more productive, and two, to save money, to be much more cost effective. So, in review, what is the cloud? How does it reduce technology costs? Well, maintenance, installation, infrastructure, IT staff, and security, all of that is reduced. We don't have to spend as much money in maintaining our installations, our infrastructure. We don't have to spend as much money with IT staff. We still need IT staff. We still need individuals, but we can lower our cost when it comes to spending on that. And then when it comes to telecommunication, rather than having a physical phone system, we save on a cloud-based server system, a cloud-based phone system, because now we can do that through the PBX, through virtual. We don't have to spend as much money on physical PBX systems. We also save money when it comes to travel with mobility, remote team collaboration. All of that allows us to save, at the same time allows us to be much more productive. Well, I certainly want to thank all for attending. This particular webinar, we will give away a free copy of Office 365 to one of the participants. But at this time, I'd like to open it up for questions. If you can go into your chat window and you can put any question that you may have on anything I've stated, and I'll be able to answer them. Additionally, you can send me an email at dgentles@cloudfirstinc.com, DGENTLES at cloudfirstinc.com. That's my email address, and you're welcome to email me on any questions you may have, any technical questions you may have on anything that I've stated so far. So certainly want to thank all for attending. We also have a survey. If you look in the window, if you look on your screen, there is a link to a survey that if you click on that, I please invite you to fill that out. And Sarah, I think Sarah may have left already, but she actually was the winner of our prize today, which is a copy of Office 365. So we'll get in touch with Sarah and be able to give her her copy of Office 365 as our winner. Again, we'll just hold on to see if there's any questions. I see someone typing. Oh, Susan said you must be. I think you got a point there, Susan. You must be present to win. I think we were mentioning. I think Sarah won as she was leaving, so, but she doesn't know. Anyway, that is a good point, Susan. But I think she just left right at the moment when she won, so she got her prize. And but if she doesn't claim it, we'll pick another winner. Again, thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you again, perhaps on future webinars.